The air still smelled of burned stone and rain when Sergeant Malik Carter stepped into the ruins of the old Muthari temple. Smoke curled upward like thin grey ribbons, rising toward a bruised sky that refused to clear. He had seen destruction before, but this place, this silence, felt different. It carried the kind of sorrow that clung to your skin. Near the blackened altar, a small figure sat with her knees drawn close to her chest. The alien girl's skin shimmered faintly, like liquid silver trying to remember how to glow. Her eyes, a deep violet, reflected the shattered murals that once told the story of her people. When Malik took a step closer, the girl looked up, tears streaking her luminous cheeks. "They beat my mother," she said, voice trembling. "They beat her because she loved a human." For a moment Malik couldn't breathe. The words struck deeper than he expected, cutting through the layers of military discipline he wore like armor. "Your mother," he said slowly. "Was she the Muthari historian, Zawadi?" The girl nodded. "They burned her temple. They said she dishonored the ancestors." Before diving deeper into this heartbreaking story, make sure to subscribe for more stories that uncover what it truly means to be human. Malik's boots crunched over charred debris as he approached her. His reflection shimmered faintly in the tears running down her face. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Ayira," she whispered. "My mother said my name means one who remembers, but I don't want to remember this." Malik crouched beside her. The smell of ash and old incense filled the air. He had been sent by Commander Nia Freeman to assess a localized disturbance between humans and Muthari citizens in the new Lagos sector. But this wasn't a disturbance, it was desecration. Someone had made sure of that. He scanned the temple's remains, fractured columns carved with glowing inscriptions, walls still faintly humming with old Muthari energy. Someone had come here with precision, not rage, like a message written in fire. Ayira's fingers tightened around a small pendant hanging from her neck, a polished piece of obsidian etched with the shape of two intertwined hands, one human, one alien. "Was this your mother's?" Malik asked. "Yes, she said it was a promise," Ayira replied, "a promise that love could outlast fear." Malik felt a cold weight in his chest. He thought of his own mother back in Atlanta's lower dome, how she'd raised him on stories of resilience, of ancestors who fought for humanity's soul long before spaceflight. He remembered her saying, "Child, sometimes the hardest wars aren't fought with weapons, but with hearts that refuse to hate." But here, in the ruins of this temple, it was clear that hatred still thrived, only dressed in uniforms and polished metal. "Where's your father?" Malik asked. Ayira's gaze dropped. "They said he was human. I never met him. Mother never told me his name. She said the Union wouldn't let him stay." A low rumble of thunder rolled across the horizon. The storm that had started the night before still lingered, heavy and slow. Malik looked toward the city skyline, New Lagos, shimmering in the distance. Towering glass spires reflected the purple dawn, built on the ruins of an older Earth, one that never really healed. "Come on," he said, rising and offering his hand. "You can't stay here." Ayira hesitated. "They'll come back. Not while I'm here." Her hand was cold, lighter than he expected, like holding starlight that had lost its way. She rose shakily, her eyes never leaving the ashes of her mother's temple. Malik turned once more before leading her away. The murals that survived told fragmented stories of unity, of two species learning to dance under the same sky. And now they were just scars on stone. He knew his report would have to say something official. Religious dispute, civil unrest, contained. But as he guided Ayira through the rain, Malik already understood the truth he would never write. Something had begun here, not just destruction but a reckoning, and deep inside, beneath his soldier's restraint, he felt it awaken. In the heart of the smoke, a child had cried for her mother. In the eyes of that child, Malik Carter saw the question every soldier fears most: what side of history am I standing on? The rain hadn't stopped when Malik and Ayira reached the checkpoint at the edge of Old Lagos sector. Drones hovered silently above, scanning for unauthorized movement. Malik flashed his Union credentials, his voice steady, but his pulse restless. The guard barely looked at Ayira. Most humans preferred not to see what made them uncomfortable. Inside the transport, Ayira sat quietly beside him, her gaze fixed on the blurred skyline of New Lagos. The city pulsed with light, neon blues and amber golds reflecting against the storm clouds. Malik watched the lights flicker and thought of how beauty often hid rot. "You shouldn't have come for me," Ayira murmured. Malik's jaw tightened. "I was sent to investigate." "I just did my job." Her tone softened. "Then why did you hold my hand like it mattered?" He didn't answer. He stared ahead as the vehicle ascended toward the military dome. The air grew colder the higher they went. When they arrived, Commander Naya Freeman was waiting. She was tall, her dark skin catching the faint glow of the data screen surrounding her. Her presence filled the room, steady, authoritative, carved from experience. Malik had served under her for 6 years, and no one commanded respect like she did. "Sergeant Carter," she said, eyes flicking toward Ayira, "you brought company." "She was the only survivor," Malik replied. "We can't leave a child out there." Nia studied the girl for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "The Council's already demanding answers. The Union wants this handled quietly. You know what that means." "Cover it up," Malik said. Nia's gaze sharpened. "Watch your tone, Sergeant. We don't get to decide the truth. We report it." Malik exhaled slowly, feeling the old friction rising. He remembered his mother's stories about government lies, how systems painted peace with borrowed blood. "With respect, Commander, if we keep burying the truth, it'll start clawing its way out." Ayira watched them in silence, her silver-blue skin flickering faintly when she grew anxious. Malik noticed, lowering his voice. "She's scared. She's not a threat." Nia turned to Ayira. "You understand where you are?" Ayira nodded, clutching her pendant. "You're soldiers." "My mother said humans always build walls before bridges." A faint smile touched Nia's lips. "Your mother was wiser than most politicians I've met." The room fell quiet for a moment, the hum of hollow screens the only sound. Malik's report hovered in his thoughts. How much to say, how much to hide. Officially, the temple fire was still under investigation. Unofficially, he already knew it was a message of dominance. Naya dismissed Ayira to a medic for evaluation, then motioned Malik to stay. When the door sealed, her voice lowered. "You've got a good heart, Carter. That's dangerous in this job." "Someone has to care," he replied. "Care smart, not loud," she warned. "You remember what happened to Lieutenant Okoro after he leaked the biocrop incident? They erased him from the system." Malik looked away. "I'm not planning to be a hero." "No," she said softly, "but you might become one anyway." For a moment, the storm outside flashed through the dome's glass. Lightning illuminated the city below, revealing its divided structure. Gleaming towers above, rusting foundations beneath. Malik wondered which world he truly served. When Nia dismissed him, Malik walked through the long corridor back toward the observation deck. From there, the whole of New Lagos stretched out, a monument to human ambition and contradiction. The sound of rain against the dome reminded him of home, of nights in Atlanta's lower sectors when thunder felt like ancestral drums calling the lost to listen. Ayira stood by the window when he returned. She didn't turn around. "Did she tell you to send me away?" "No," Malik said. "She told me to be careful. That's not the same thing." Ayira's reflection flickered in the glass. "You don't trust them either." He hesitated. "I trust people, not systems." Outside, the storm deepened, lightning revealing the distant silhouette of the ruined temple. Malik felt the weight of his duty pressing hard against the quiet rebellion forming inside him. Protecting Ayira wasn't part of his orders, but orders had never felt so small. "Get some rest," he said finally. "Tomorrow we figure out what really happened." Ayira looked up at him, her eyes reflecting both grief and a faint, unfamiliar hope. "Tomorrow," she echoed softly. "We remember." Malik didn't answer, but as the thunder rolled again, he knew that remembering might be the only duty that ever truly mattered. The next morning the storm had passed, leaving the city washed in pale sunlight. From the observation deck, New Lagos glittered like a jeweled maze stretching toward the sea. Malik leaned on the railing, watching transport crafts trace lines across the horizon. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. Ayera's reflection appeared beside his, her eyes still swollen from a night of restless dreams. "I dreamed of her again," she said quietly. "My mother." She was singing. "What song?" Malik asked, keeping his tone gentle. "She used to sing to calm the winds. The Muthari say every storm listens to music if it remembers who it used to be." Malik turned to face her. "Tell me about her." Ayera hesitated, fingers tracing the obsidian pendant. "She was different. My mother didn't believe in the separation. She said love was an ancient technology, older than ships, older than fear. When humans first arrived on our planet, she studied them, not like an enemy, but like a mirror." He listened, saying nothing, afraid to break the fragile rhythm in her voice. "She met a man," Ayera continued. "He came as part of a delegation. He was brave, but lonely. They spent nights walking along the coral fields of Mutha Prime. He told her stories about Earth, about drums that called down rain, about women who braided constellations into their children's hair." She smiled faintly. "My mother said he carried the rhythm of 1,000 ancestors in his heartbeat." "Your father," Malik murmured. Ayera nodded slowly. "She never told me his name. She said it wasn't safe. The council forbade human contact. They said humans brought chaos, that they loved without boundaries, and that frightened them." Her eyes darkened. "When they discovered her secret, they called her a defiler. They took her to the temple, the same one you saw burned. They beat her before the elders to make an example." Malik clenched his fists. "And you watched?" "I was hiding behind the altar," Ayera whispered. "She saw me. Even as they struck her, she smiled. She said, 'Remember, Ayera, don't let pain rewrite who we are.' And then they took her away." The silence that followed pressed heavy between them. Malik's breath came slow, controlled, but anger simmered beneath it. He wanted to believe the Union stood for justice, but every word Ayera spoke pulled another thread loose from that belief. "What happened after?" he asked. "The night before they burned the temple, she sent me to the hills. She told me to wait for the stars to turn red, that it would mean she was gone." Ayera's voice faltered. "When I saw the sky burn, I knew." Malik swallowed hard. "How long have you been alone?" 17 cycles. I lived among traders, scavengers, anyone who didn't ask questions. When I heard about humans building a city here, I thought maybe someone would remember her story." He studied her, so young, yet carrying the grief of generations. "And you came to New Lagos?" "I came to find proof she wasn't wrong," Ayera said. "That humans could love without destroying." Malik exhaled slowly. "You still believe that?" Her gaze met his, unwavering. "I want to." Outside, a convoy of ships cut through the clouds, their engines leaving silver trails across the morning. Malik thought of Nia's warning, of the reports he'd filed that turned truth into paperwork. Maybe for once he could do something that mattered. "You said your mother was a historian," he said. "Did she leave records, writings, archives, anything?" Ayera nodded. "Hidden beneath the temple. She said they told the story of how the first human arrived on Muthar, how our fates were already tied before either of us knew it." Malik straightened, decision forming quietly behind his eyes. "Then we're going back there." Ayera looked startled. "It's forbidden territory now. They'll kill us if we enter." "Let them try," Malik said softly. "If your mother left something behind, we'll find it. Her story deserves more than ashes." For the first time, Ayera's expression shifted, not to fear, but to something fragile and luminous. "You sound like her." Malik gave a faint smile. "Maybe your mother and mine would have gotten along." The city lights flickered again as the day grew hotter. Somewhere beyond the shining towers, smoke still rose from the ruins. Malik felt the pull of it, not as duty, but as calling. He didn't know what answers waited among the ashes, but he knew one thing for certain. The girl beside him carried a truth that could break or heal everything he thought he knew about humanity. The return to the ruins began before dawn. Malik moved quietly through the outer districts of New Lagos, the air still heavy with the metallic scent of rain and the hum of sleeping machines. Ayira followed close, her cloak pulled tight, her eyes reflecting the faint glow of street beacons. Neither spoke much. Every sound felt amplified, every silence meaningful. When they reached the temple grounds, Malik paused at the perimeter. The place looked even more haunted in daylight. Ash clung to the stones like memory refusing to fade. What once stood as a monument of peace now lay fractured, smoke still whispering from beneath the rubble. Ayira stepped forward, her voice barely audible. "They won't forgive us for coming back." "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Malik said. "I'm asking for the truth." She hesitated, then nodded. Together they crossed the threshold. Malik's boots sank into the soot. Ayira's bare feet left faint silver prints on the blackened ground. It felt like walking through the ghost of a prayer. Near the heart of the ruins, a faint shimmer pulsed from beneath the stones. Ayira knelt, brushing away ash until a small symbol appeared, two spirals intertwined, glowing softly. "My mother's mark," she whispered. "It's calling to me." Before Malik could answer, a low hum filled the air. From the ridge beyond the temple, figures emerged, tall, cloaked Muthari elders, their faces hidden beneath gold-veined masks. The air thickened with static energy. "The council," Ayira breathed, fear tightening her voice. Malik's hand instinctively moved toward his sidearm, but Ayira caught his wrist. "No," she said firmly. "Weapons will only make them listen less." The lead elder stepped forward, his voice resonant and calm. "Child of Zawadi, you defy exile to return to sacred ground. Have you come to mock your mother's shame?" Ayira rose, trembling but unyielding. "My mother's shame was your fear. She believed in love that reached beyond our blood, and you burned her for it." A murmur rippled through the council. The elder's tone hardened. "She betrayed our lineage for flesh that forgets its origin. Her fire consumed more than stone, it consumed faith." Malik stepped forward. "Her faith wasn't the problem. Your fear was." The elder's mask tilted toward him. "And you, human soldier, why do you tread where even gods turn away?" "Because I saw a child crying in your ashes," Malik said. "And because I serve something older than your laws, justice." A pause followed, deep and sharp. The council's energy flared, shimmering arcs of light dancing around them like flames contained by will. Ayira reached for her pendant, holding it out before the elders. "My mother said this was a promise, that one day Muthari and human would share the same song again. I came to finish that song." The second elder, a woman's voice this time softer but edged with sorrow, replied, "You speak of harmony while your kind burns worlds for progress." Malik met her unseen gaze. "And yet, your world burns its own for purity." That silenced even the wind. The hum faded, replaced by the crackle of distant thunder. Ayira's voice broke the stillness. "Where are her writings?" "The archives she protected." The first elder's reply came slow. "Sealed beneath the hall of fire. Only those who are pure of blood may enter." "Then you'll never read them," Ayira said, stepping forward, "because purity is the lie that killed her." For a moment, Malik thought they'd attack, but instead the elders turned, retreating toward the ridge. The lead one spoke over his shoulder, his tone heavy with prophecy. "If you disturb what sleeps below, the fire will not spare you. Not even love can quench what it awakens." When they were gone, Ayira's shoulders slumped, and Malik released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "They're afraid of her truth," he said quietly. "They should be," Ayira whispered. "Because the truth still burns." She looked toward the center of the ruins where faint light pulsed beneath the stones. "We'll find the Hall of Fire," she said, "and when we do, no council, no law, will bury her again." Malik nodded once. The sun began to rise fully, spilling gold over the broken temple. The day felt young, but the path ahead already smelled of smoke. Night fell fast over Old Lagos sector. The neon from the upper city flickered against the low-hanging mist, painting the ruins in uneasy color. Malik and Ayira had found shelter inside what used to be a freight warehouse, its steel beams now home to rust and silence. The floor was cold, the air thick with the faint tang of oil. Malik sat near the dim light of a cracked lantern, cleaning his pulse rifle with steady, mechanical precision. Ayira watched him from across the room, her knees drawn close to her chest. "You clean that thing like it's a prayer," she said. Malik glanced up. "In a way it is. Every soldier learns to trust his weapon before he trusts his leaders." She tilted her head. "And yet it's the same leaders who tell you who to aim at." He gave a dry smile. "That's the cruel part of faith." Silence stretched between them again, not uncomfortable, just heavy. Malik's thoughts drifted toward the council's warning, the fire beneath the temple, the sense that he was already too deep to turn back. Ayira's voice broke through softly. "You don't have to stay, Malik. You've already risked enough." "I told you," he said, tightening a bolt. "I don't walk away from something that feels wrong." She studied him, the faint shimmer of her skin brightening with emotion. "You talk like a soldier, but you move like someone who's been fighting too long." Malik leaned back, resting the rifle across his knees. "Where I grew up, fighting wasn't a choice. It was the air we breathed. Every day was a battle to stay seen, to stay human. The Union promised justice, but all it gave was new walls made of glass and light." Ayira lowered her gaze. "You sound like her." "Your mother?" "Yes?" She used to say, "Empires always forget the names of those who built them." She believed remembering was rebellion. Malik smiled faintly. "Then she'd get along fine with my grandmother." A soft laugh escaped Ayira, quick and shy. For the first time, the weight between them shifted. Malik watched her laugh fade into a quiet sadness, the kind that came from remembering too much. "She told me humans could change," Ayira said. "That love was proof. But when they burned her, it wasn't just my people who stood watching. There were humans there too, silent, obedient." Malik's stomach tightened. "There are always those who follow orders, and those who live with them afterward." She looked at him then, eyes wide and searching. "Which one are you?" The question hit harder than any accusation. Malik didn't answer right away. He stared at his reflection in the metal floor, distorted and ghostly. "I used to think I knew. Now I'm not sure." The sound of distant engines interrupted the quiet. Both of them froze. Malik killed the lantern instantly, plunging the room into darkness. He could hear the low hum of Union patrol drones sweeping the district. Their searchlights glowed faintly through the broken windows. "They're looking for us," Ayira whispered. "They're looking for you," Malik corrected. "But they'll find me in the way." She reached for his arm, her touch cool but grounding. "Then we move." Malik nodded. They slipped through the shadows, every step careful. The streets outside glistened with rain, reflecting the fractured glow of the city above. As they moved between collapsed walls and empty alleys, Malik felt something unexpected rising inside him, a strange mix of fear and purpose. Ayira stopped near the edge of the district, her gaze fixed on the skyline. "My mother once said every city has a heartbeat," she murmured. "This one sounds like it's trying to remember its song." Malik looked toward the lights pulsing in the distance. "Maybe that's what we're here for." "Do you really believe that?" He hesitated. "I don't know yet, but I believe in what she stood for, and I believe in you." Ayira's breath caught. For a heartbeat, the space between them felt charged, not romantic, but sacred, like something ancient being recognized. Then the sharp buzz of a drone sliced through the quiet. Malik grabbed her hand. "Move!" They darted into the maze of alleys, the sound of scanning beams chasing them like ghosts. Malik's pulse thundered as he pulled her through a crumbling gate. Behind them, the drone's light swept past and vanished. When silence returned, Ayira looked at him breathless but smiling faintly. "You could have left me." Malik shook his head. "Not a chance." In that moment, trust rooted itself between them, not spoken but alive. Both knew it would be tested soon, but neither dared name how. By dawn, Malik and Ayira had reached the freight line that bordered the lower military dome. The morning light was pale, almost sickly, reflecting off the steel veins of the city. Malik guided her through a service tunnel beneath the transport tracks. Every sound echoed. Distant engines, dripping condensation, the rhythmic thump of Malik's own pulse. He hadn't slept. The images from the night before kept looping in his mind, her hand gripping his, the heat of the chase, the look in her eyes when she asked why he stayed. He told himself it was duty. But even he didn't believe that anymore. When they emerged from the tunnel, a familiar voice broke the tension. "You really don't make this easy for me, Sergeant." Malik froze. Commander Nia Freeman stood waiting near a supply pod, her arms folded, her expression unreadable. The faint blue glow from her wrist implant lit the air between them. She looked tired, older somehow, like the weight of too many secrets had finally started to show. "You tracked me?" Malik asked, his voice a mix of relief and unease. "Of course," Nia said. "You think I'd let one of my best soldiers vanish with a fugitive and not follow?" Her gaze shifted to Ayira. "You've made quite a mess, girl." Ayira stood her ground. "If telling the truth is a mess, then maybe your union needs cleaning." Nia's lips curved faintly. "Spoken like your mother." Malik stepped forward. "You knew Zawadi?" "I knew of her," Nia replied. "She believed in things this government couldn't control. That's why they feared her." The silence between them thickened. Malik could feel Ayira watching him, waiting for him to choose a side. "You came to arrest us?" he asked. Nia sighed. "If that were the plan, I wouldn't have come alone. I came to warn you. The union's leadership knows about the files you're chasing. They've ordered a containment protocol." "Containment," Malik repeated bitterly. "That's just a cleaner word for execution." Nia met his gaze. "You're not wrong." Ayira's voice shook slightly. "They'll kill him because of me." "No," Malik said firmly. "They'll kill me because I stopped following blind orders." Nia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Listen carefully. They're painting you as compromised, emotionally manipulated by an alien insurgent. By the end of the day, your own squad will have authorization to take you down if they see you." Malik's jaw tightened. "So that's it? Years of service gone because I tried to protect a child?" "Because you made them feel guilty," Nia said. "The union doesn't punish disobedience. It punishes reflection. You remind them of what they've forgotten to be." Her words hung in the damp air like confession. Ayira took a tentative step forward. "Why tell us this?" "You could lose everything." Nia studied her, and for a moment the hard commander's mask cracked. "Because I've already lost too much pretending to be loyal to men who build empires out of ashes." She reached into her coat and pulled out a small data crystal, glowing faintly gold. "Coordinates to an old Union safe house in Sector 12. It's off-grid. You'll find supplies, encrypted tools, and something else, a transmission from Zawadi." Ayira's breath caught. "My mother," Nia nodded. "It's incomplete, but it survived the purge. I don't know what's in it, but if she hid it, it matters." Malik took the crystal, his fingers brushing hers. "You know what they'll do if they trace this back to you." "I've made peace with that," she said quietly. "You just make sure her story reaches someone who can still listen." The sound of a patrol convoy echoed faintly through the tunnel above them. Nia turned toward the noise, her posture sharp again. "Go now, before they triangulate your signal." Malik hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll delay them," she replied. "I'll say I found nothing but echoes." He wanted to argue, but the look in her eyes ended it. Gratitude and grief tangled in his chest as he pulled Ayira toward the passage. Behind them, Nia's voice followed like a benediction. "Remember what she taught, Carter. Truth burns cleaner than fire." Malik didn't look back. The hum of engines grew louder. Somewhere behind the noise, he thought he heard a single gunshot, sharp and final, swallowed by the city's heartbeat. The safe house in Sector 12 was buried beneath an old transit station, hidden behind decades of dust and forgotten propaganda. Malik forced open the sealed door with his shoulder, the air inside tasting of iron and stale electricity. The lights flickered weakly to life, revealing walls lined with storage pods, cracked terminals, and the faded insignia of the Union Defense Corps. Ayira entered behind him, clutching her pendant tightly. "This place feels like it remembers," she murmured. "Good," Malik said. "Maybe it'll tell us something." They moved through the narrow corridors until they found the central console. Malik inserted Nia's data crystal into the receiver. A faint hum filled the air, followed by the shimmer of a holographic interface flickering awake. The Union emblem appeared first, sharp, sterile, unfeeling, then shifted into encrypted archives labeled Operation Firebreak. Ayera frowned. That's the name they used when they destroyed the temple. Malik's stomach tightened. Then we're in the right place. He entered his old security credentials. The system hesitated before unlocking layer after layer of hidden data. Dozens of reports appeared, official communiques, field orders, signatures of commanders he once trusted. He scrolled until a phrase caught his eye. Target Muthari Cultural Nexus. Objective, neutralize influence network. Authorized by High Command. Ayera stepped closer, reading over his shoulder. Neutralize influence network? That wasn't an attack, that was an erasure. Malik's voice hardened. They didn't want to silence rebels. They wanted to erase a culture. He opened another file. Surveillance images flickered across the screen, Muthari leaders gathering inside the temple, including Zawadi. Her figure appeared, luminous even in static. Malik's chest tightened. She looked peaceful, mid-speech, unaware that the recording would be used as evidence against her. She was teaching, Ayera whispered. Not plotting. Look, those are her students. Malik scrolled further, and the next file froze him. It showed authorization logs from Union officers stationed in New Lagos. Among them was the signature of General Corin Darnell, Malik's former superior, the same man who once told him that loyalty was the highest virtue. His pulse pounded. He ordered it, Malik said quietly. All of it. The burn orders, the propaganda, the cover-up. They blamed your mother to justify expanding military control over Muthari territory. Ayera's hands trembled. They used her love as their weapon. Malik leaned against the console, anger burning through his exhaustion. Nia was right. The Union punishes reflection. They build peace out of graves. The terminal beeped suddenly, a new icon blinking. A hidden file marked Zawadi, Private Recording 03. Malik clicked it open. Static filled the air, then the soft sound of a voice. Warm, melodic, resolute. If you're hearing this, Zawadi said, then the fire has reached beyond my temple. I leave this not for vengeance, but for remembrance. Love is not rebellion, it is creation. If our children remember that, then our deaths will not be in vain. Ayera's breath broke. It's her. Zawadi's voice continued, faint but unwavering. To my daughter, the bridge between stars and soil. Don't let them teach you shame. Carry my name like light through shadow. And to the human who walks beside you, remember, justice without compassion is just another war. The recording ended in silence. Malik couldn't speak. His throat tightened with the weight of her words. Ayera turned toward him, tears glimmering like liquid glass. She knew about you. Malik shook his head slowly. No, she knew about what had to come. She believed in something bigger than either of us. Before he could say more, the terminal flashed red, an alert pulsing across the screen. Trace detected. Incoming signal lock. They found us, Malik said, snapping the data crystal free. We have to move. Ayera grabbed the small drive still containing her mother's voice. Not without this. As the lights in the safe house flickered violently, Malik pulled her toward the exit tunnel. The sound of distant engines filled the air again, closer this time. Where do we go now? Ayera asked, breathless. Malik looked toward the glowing skyline, his voice steady despite the chaos building around them. We find whoever's still willing to remember. The night sky above the outskirts of New Lagos burned with restless color, amber lightning crawling through ash-gray clouds, the air thick with the static of pursuit. Malik and Ayera ran along the broken highway leading into the industrial wastes, their shadows stretching long against the glow of the city they'd left behind. The sound of distant drones followed them like mechanical hounds. Malik's lungs burned, his muscles screaming from exhaustion. The data crystal pressed cold against his chest pocket, every heartbeat reminding him of what they carried. Keep moving, he said between breaths. "We're not safe until we cross the barrier line." Ayera nodded, her breathing controlled but ragged. Her luminous skin dimmed each time fear surged through her. "They'll never stop," she whispered. "The Union doesn't lose what it thinks it owns." "Then we make them lose," Malik replied. They reached the edge of the industrial zone, a wasteland of twisted metal and half-sunken structures, remnants of an older civilization that the new city had forgotten. The ground shimmered faintly with chemical residue, the air humming with the faint echo of energy grids left to decay. Malik remembered training drills held here years ago when he'd been told this was where obsolete machines came to die. Now it was where people like them came to survive. They slowed near a collapsed refinery. Malik scanned the perimeter, then guided Ayera through a fissure in the wall. Inside, the silence was dense, broken only by the faint ticking of cooling metal. Ayera pressed her hand against a beam, her eyes half closed. "It's strange," she murmured. "Everything here feels tired, like it remembers working for a dream that betrayed it." Malik looked around the ruin. "That's what progress looks like when it's done lying." She turned toward him, studying his face. "You talk like you've seen too many endings." "Maybe," he said, "but I've also seen people rebuild from them." Ayera moved closer, her voice softer. "My mother used to say that destruction isn't always evil. Sometimes it's the only way for new roots to grow." Malik smiled faintly. "Then maybe tonight's the planting." A faint hum cut through the quiet, the unmistakable whine of reconnaissance drones sweeping the area. Malik motioned for silence and crouched, listening. The drones' searchlights glowed faintly beyond the refinery walls, their movement methodical, predatory. He whispered, "If they spot us, we're done." Ayera's fingers brushed the pendant at her throat. "I can draw them away," she said. "My heat signature will confuse their senses." "Not happening," Malik said sharply. "I'm not letting you out of my sight." Her tone steadied, calm, yet resolute. "You can't protect me forever, soldier." He met her gaze, the fire in her eyes both fragile and unbreakable. "Maybe not," he said quietly, "but I can try a little longer." A moment passed. Then the drone's engines grew louder. Malik grabbed her hand and pulled her deeper into the refinery's core. They climbed over broken pipes and rusted catwalks until they reached a maintenance tunnel that opened into the barren plains beyond. As they crawled through, Ayera's voice echoed softly behind him. "There's something I never told you," she said. "When my mother was taken, she whispered a word, Usinda. It means redemption through remembrance. The Muthari believe that if you hold truth long enough, it burns away everything false." Malik's voice was low, almost reverent. "Then we're already burning." They emerged on the other side, greeted by the open expanse of the wastes. The sky stretched endless, streaked with colors from the city's glow. Wind rushed across the cracked ground, carrying the scent of ozone and rust. Ayera looked back once at New Lagos, her expression unreadable. "Do you think they'll ever see what they've done?" Malik adjusted his pack, his tone steady. "Not until the lies start costing them more than the truth." Ahead lay only silence and sand, the horizon painted with the faint outline of something new. Malik glanced at Ayera, her steps light, her resolve anchored by loss, and realized that somewhere between duty and defiance he had crossed into faith. Behind them, a single drone light flickered uncertainly before vanishing into the storm. By the time Malik and Ayera reached the outer perimeter of the wastes, dawn had bled into grey. The land beyond was restless, neither city nor wilderness, but something forgotten between. They followed the remnants of an old rail line until the ground dipped toward a valley of lights flickering beneath the haze. Malik slowed, scanning the shapes below. "That," he said, pointing toward the glow, "is the Market of Shadows." Ayera frowned. "It sounds like a place people go to disappear." He nodded. "Exactly. Every world has one, where laws fade and stories trade hands for something more valuable than credits." The air grew warmer as they descended. The scent of spice, sweat, and machinery mixed into something both alive and unsettling. The market stretched wide, a maze of tents, makeshift towers, and suspended bridges woven between rusted ships. Vendors called out in a blend of languages, their voices layered with music from battered speakers. Above it all hung a faint hum, rhythmic like a heartbeat. Malik moved cautiously through the crowd. Faces turned, some curious, others suspicious. Humans and aliens mingled here without pretense. Traders, smugglers, rebels, all bound by survival. Ayira's eyes widened at the spectacle. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Chaotic, but free." "Freedom's a dangerous currency," Malik muttered. "Spend it wrong, and it'll kill you." They reached a narrow alley lined with stalls of old tech. Malik's gaze stopped at a symbol etched into a steel door, two intertwined circles glowing faintly green. He felt a rush of recognition. "The Sankofa Syndicate," he said under his breath. Ayira tilted her head. "Who are they?" "People who remember what others try to erase." He knocked twice, paused, then once more. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the air was cooler, heavy with the scent of copper and oil. A woman stepped from the shadows, tall, dark-skinned, her hair woven with metal threads that caught the light like veins of gold. "Malik Carter," she said, her tone sharp but not unkind. "You finally came back from the Union's leash." Malik's lips tightened. "Didn't realize I still had friends here, Lyra." She smirked. "You don't. But you've got history, and that's harder to kill." Her gaze shifted to Ayira. "And what's this? You bring a ghost to my door?" Ayira straightened, unafraid. "My name is Ayira, daughter of Zawadi." The smirk vanished. For a moment, even the humming machines seemed to pause. "Zawadi," Lyra repeated quietly. "The one who tried to build peace through memory." They said she was dead. "She is," Malik said, "but her story isn't." He handed her the data crystal. Lyra's expression hardened as she scanned it with a flick of her wrist implant. The holographic projection of Zawadi's files filled the room, reports, recordings, evidence of the Union's crimes. Lyra's eyes flicked from line to line. "They really did it," she murmured. "Burned her temple, rewrote the history, blamed her for her own death." Ayira stepped closer. "We need help spreading the truth." Lyra looked at her for a long moment, then exhaled. "You're walking into a storm you can't see, child. The Union doesn't fear words, they fear belief. If this story spreads, they'll scorch every world that dares to listen." Malik's jaw set. "Then we make sure they can't silence it again." Lyra studied him. "You sound like your father." Malik froze. "You knew him?" She smiled faintly, almost wistful. "He believed in the same thing you do, that humans could be more than conquerors. Guess that belief runs deep." Ayira's eyes softened. "Maybe that's why my mother loved him." Lyra's gaze shifted between them, her tone gentler now. "You two are carrying more than truth. You're carrying hope. Be careful, it burns bright, but it burns fast." She handed Malik a small transmitter. "Go to the lower docks. There's someone waiting, a messenger. He'll get you out before the patrols close in." Malik pocketed it, his voice steady. "Thank you, Lyra." "Don't thank me yet," she said. "Just make sure the story lives long enough to matter." As they stepped back into the crowded market, the noise seemed louder, the air thicker with tension. Ayira glanced at him. "Do you trust her?" Malik's eyes swept the crowd. "I trust the truth more than the silence that killed it." Behind them, the market of shadows pulsed like a living thing, beautiful, fragile, and waiting to decide whose story it would protect next. The lower docks of the Market of Shadows breathed like a sleeping beast, steam rising from vents, the scent of salt and ozone thick in the air. Malik and Ayira moved between the rusted hulls of abandoned freighters, guided only by the faint pulse of the transmitter Lyra had given them. The deeper they went, the quieter it grew, until even the marketplace noise faded into distant echoes. Ayira's voice broke the silence. "You think the messenger will really come?" Malik checked the device again. "If Lyra says he will, he will. She may bend the law, but not her word." Ayira nodded but kept glancing over her shoulder. The hum of the city above felt different here, hollow, almost mournful. She whispered, "My mother used to say, places remember the people who loved them." I wonder if the temple still remembers her voice. Malik paused. It remembers, he said quietly. Because you do. Before she could reply, the transmitter blinked green and a low voice echoed from the shadows ahead. You're late. A man stepped into the dim light, tall and lean, his skin marked with the faint metallic sheen of bio-augmentation. His left eye glowed faint blue. Name's Kale, he said. I hear you're carrying something dangerous. Malik's tone was sharp. Depends who's asking, Kyle smirked. Someone who wants to see the Union choke on its own lies. He held out a small device, a data stabilizer. If you want Zawadi's story to survive, we need to decrypt it before they corrupt the file. There's a place under the old seawall where the grid can't reach. Ayera looked uncertain. And what do you want in return? Kyle shrugged. Same thing everyone here wants. A world that stops pretending. They followed him through the narrow tunnels beneath the docks. The walls glistened with condensation. Every sound echoed, turning whispers into ghosts. Malik stayed alert, hand near his weapon, but Kale moved with the ease of someone who knew every shadow personally. They emerged into a small chamber lit by the flicker of old power cells. Kyle placed the stabilizer on a table and nodded to Malik. The crystal. Malik hesitated before handing it over. Kyle slid it into the device. The room filled with a soft hum, then burst into light. Holographic symbols spiraled into the air, Zawadi's handwriting fluid and intricate. Lines of text in both Muthari and human script intertwined like twin flames. Ayera stepped closer, eyes wide. It's her research, she breathed. She was building a linguistic bridge between our cultures, proof that our languages shared the same roots. Malik frowned. Shared roots? Yes, Ayera said. She believed our ancestors weren't strangers when they met. She thought memory itself was migration, that every world carries the echo of another. Kale glanced at Malik. No wonder they killed her. If that theory's true, then all the Union's history books fall apart. Malik's chest tightened. She wasn't just preaching peace, she was proving kinship. As they read, another file opened, a recording, fragmented but clear. Zawadi's voice returned, calm and resolute. If love is punished, then let memory rebel. Those who forget will always rebuild their prisons, but those who remember, those will build bridges. Ayera reached out as if to touch her mother's face. She knew they would destroy her work. And she hid it for you, Malik said softly. Kyle transferred the files to a portable drive, his movements quick. You've got maybe 20 minutes before the Union tracks this frequency. If you want the truth to live, you need to get out of the city. Ayera turned to Malik. There's one more thing she mentioned, the mountain where she was born. She said her spirit would rest where the fire meets the sky. Malik nodded slowly. Then that's where we go next. Kyle unplugged the device and handed him the drive. Once the story's out, everything changes. You sure you're ready for that? Malik met his gaze. Ready or not, the fire's already burning. Kyle's half-smile faded. Then may it burn clean. As Malik and Ayera climbed back toward the surface, the glow of the docks flickered behind them like dying stars. The words of Zawadi lingered in the air, soft, defiant, and alive. Ayera whispered, The truth remembers us. Malik answered quietly, Then we owe it the same. The road out of New Lagos stretched beneath a bruised sky, long and empty. Malik drove a battered transport Kyle had secured for them, its engine growling like a tired beast. The city lights faded behind them, swallowed by the horizon. Ayera sat beside him, silent, her eyes fixed on the data drive in her hands. The glow from the device painted her face in shifting golds and blues. Malik glanced at her. You've been quiet since we left. She didn't look up. I'm listening to her voice again. He nodded, understanding. Every few seconds the recording repeated, Zawadi's calm tone, her final words echoing through the small cabin. Those who remember rebuild. Malik focused on the road, but unease gnawed at him. Something in Kale's eyes before they left, the flicker of hesitation, had felt wrong. You sure he didn't follow us? Ayera shook her head. He helped us. Why would he betray that? Malik didn't answer. He'd spent too many years among soldiers to mistake silence for safety. A sudden static crackled through the radio. Malik tapped the console, but the interference grew louder, splitting into distorted voices. Target confirmed. Transport 42A. Intercept in progress. Ayera's eyes widened. They found us. Malik slammed the throttle. The vehicle roared forward, dust spiraling behind them. Overhead, lights pierced the clouds, Union drones sleek and predatory. "Hold on!" he shouted. The first blast hit the ground beside them, a burst of molten debris lighting the road. Malik veered hard, the vehicle swerving as Ayera clutched the console. "We can't outrun them," she cried. "We don't have to," he said through clenched teeth. "We just need to disappear." He steered sharply toward the canyon ahead, a jagged scar in the wasteland. The walls rose steep and narrow, cutting off the open sky. The drones followed, their beams slicing through dust and darkness. Ayera reached for her pendant, whispering something in Muthari, a plea, a promise. Malik couldn't tell. He caught glimpses of her face in the flashing light, calm despite the chaos. "Your people ever pray for miracles?" he asked. "No," she replied softly. "We pray for courage," he almost smiled. "Then pray hard." A second explosion rocked the canyon, throwing the transport sideways. Malik fought for control, but the engine sputtered, sparks flying. "We're hit!" The vehicle skidded to a halt against the rock wall. Malik jumped out, pulling Ayera with him. The air smelled of burning metal and ozone. He shoved the data drive into his jacket and drew his weapon. "Go!" "But now, Ayera!" She ran toward the ridge as Malik fired at the drones. Blue light tore through the dust. One drone exploded in a burst of flame, but two more closed in. Malik ducked behind a boulder, his pulse pounding. He fired again, and then his wristband beeped, a message flashing across the screen. "Incoming transmission, Kyle." Malik hesitated, then opened the channel. "Kyle, what the hell?" The voice that answered was calm, almost regretful. "I'm sorry, Carter. They forced my hand. The Union knows where you're headed. You weren't supposed to die, just vanish." Malik's stomach dropped. "You sold us out." "I kept you alive long enough to matter," Kyle said. "That story on the drive, it's bigger than you. If they think you're dead, it might still reach the world." "Then you'd better pray it does," Malik growled. He cut the transmission and turned toward the ridge. Ayera had reached the top, silhouetted against the burning sky. "Malik!" she shouted. Before he could respond, a drone struck the ground behind him. The shockwave threw him forward, pain tearing through his leg. The world tilted, the canyon spinning in smoke and fire. He tried to rise, but his body refused. The last thing he saw was Ayera's face above him, eyes fierce, tears cutting through the dust. "Don't stop," he rasped. "Find her mountain." She nodded once, gripping his hand. "I'll come back for you." Then she was gone, running toward the horizon as the fire consumed the canyon. Malik's vision blurred, but through the roar of collapsing metal, he thought he heard her mother's voice one last time. "Those who remember, rebuild." The air was thick with ash and silence when Malik woke. Pain pulsed through his leg, sharp and steady, grounding him in the wreckage. The canyon around him glowed faintly with embers, the night wind carrying the sour tang of smoke and melted alloy. His first thought was Ayera, whether she'd escaped, whether the story still lived. He tried to move, but his body rebelled. The impact had left him half buried beneath debris. Every breath felt heavy, like inhaling the memory of fire. Then came the distant hum of engines. Malik's instincts tensed. The Union had returned to finish what they started. He reached for his weapon, but his hand shook too much to hold it steady. A voice crackled through the static of his comm. "Malik Carter, you really can't die quietly, can you?" He froze. "Commander?" Nia Freeman's voice came through, calm but strained. "You think I'd let them erase another good soldier without saying goodbye?" Relief and disbelief collided inside him. "How did you—" "Never mind that," she interrupted. "I intercepted the signal from your transport before the Union scrambled it. I've got a shuttle en route, but it won't reach you before they do." Malik's jaw clenched. "They sent Kale to sell us out." "I know," she said quietly. They threatened his family. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains enough for now. Static hissed between words. Nia's voice grew harder. Listen to me, Malik. You've got the drive, right? It's on Ayira, he said. She's heading toward the mountain, her mother's birthplace. Nia's tone softened. Then she's doing exactly what she was meant to. Zawadi would have been proud. Malik swallowed. They'll kill her if they find her. They'll try, Nia said, but she's carrying something bigger than any bullet. A rumble echoed through the canyon, engines closing in. Malik looked toward the horizon, where sleek Union crafts cut through the smoke, their lights cold and merciless. They're here, he said. Nia's reply was calm, steady as stone. Then it's my turn. He frowned. What are you talking about? I'm rerouting the shuttle's power core, she said. I'll draw them off. You'll never make it. Maybe not, she said. But if I don't, neither will she. You taught me something, Carter. Orders mean nothing without a soul behind them. He could hear the conviction in her voice, the quiet fire that had always set her apart from the others. You don't have to do this, he said. Yes, I do, she replied. For her, for you, for every soldier who forgot why they picked up a weapon in the first place. The comm crackled again. When you see her, tell her that I believed her mother was right. The world only changes when memory refuses to die. Malik's voice broke. Nia... But the transmission ended. Moments later, the night erupted in light. A blinding flash tore through the sky as Nia's shuttle streaked toward the Union crafts. The explosion bloomed like a second sun, swallowing metal and flame alike. The shockwave rolled through the canyon, rattling the stones. Malik shielded his face, the heat stinging his skin. When the echo faded, only the stars remained, quiet witnesses to her final act. Malik sat there for a long time, his chest aching with more than pain. The woman who had led him, challenged him, believed in him even when he didn't, was gone. But her voice lingered, carved into his memory. Care smart, not loud. He looked toward the dark outline of the mountain in the distance. Somewhere out there, Ayira carried the truth, Zawadi's words, Nia's sacrifice, his own broken faith. The night wind shifted, carrying the scent of burnt ozone and the faint trace of rain. Malik closed his eyes, whispering, I'll finish it. Then, using what strength remained, he dragged himself from the wreckage and began to crawl toward the horizon, each movement slow, deliberate, but alive. Behind him, the ashes of loyalty scattered into the wind, and ahead the mountain waited, sharp against the fading stars. The mountain rose like a shadow carved against the dawn. Its slopes shimmered faintly beneath the morning mist, streaked with veins of crystal and old volcanic rock. Ayira climbed alone, her body aching from the endless journey, but her heart steady with purpose. Each step echoed with her mother's words, those who remember rebuild. She carried the drive against her chest, wrapped in a strip of cloth torn from Malik's jacket. The memory of him lingered, his voice, his strength, the stubborn fire in his eyes. She refused to believe he was gone. The universe couldn't be cruel enough to extinguish both men who had believed in her mother's dream. The higher she climbed, the thinner the air became. The world below unfolded like a living map, New Lagos glimmering faintly in the distance, its towers piercing the clouds. It looked small now, fragile, a city built on denial. By midday, she reached a plateau where the stone glowed faintly blue. Strange symbols shimmered beneath her feet, pulsing like a heartbeat. Ayira knelt, running her fingers along the markings. This is it, she whispered, the place where the fire meets the sky. The voice that answered her was old and calm, and the place where truth must be chosen. Ayira turned sharply. Elder Abini stood a few paces away, wrapped in robes of white and gold, her luminous eyes watching with a mixture of sorrow and pride. You shouldn't be here, child of Zawadi, the elder said softly. The council declared this mountain forbidden to your kind. Ayira rose to her full height. Then it's fitting I stand here. My mother died for breaking your rules. I'll live by defying them. Abeni's gaze lingered on her. Your mother's defiance cost her people dearly. Our unity fractured, our faith dimmed. Our unity was never real, Ayira replied. It was obedience. She saw beyond your fear. The elder stepped closer, her expression unreadable. You speak like her. But words alone won't heal what fire broke. Ayera unwrapped the drive and held it out. Then let her memory speak for itself. Abeni hesitated, then extended her hands. When Ayera placed the drive within them, the ground trembled. Lines of light spread outward, illuminating the entire plateau. From the mountain's face, ancient carvings ignited, forming spirals of flame and shadow. The air filled with the hum of energy older than both their worlds. Zawadi's voice rose from the light, soft, powerful, unbound by death. To the children of memory, human and Muthari alike, your destinies are threads of the same weave. You may burn apart, but only together can you rise again. Abeni closed her eyes as tears streamed down her cheeks. Her voice. It lives. Ayera stood beside her, trembling. It's proof, Elder. Proof that love didn't destroy us. It made us possible. The light shifted, forming the image of two hands, one human, one Muthari, interlocked. The symbols beneath their feet pulsed brighter until the air shimmered with heat. Do you see now? Ayera asked. The temple wasn't a place, it was her belief, and it's still alive. The elder bowed her head. You carry her flame, child. But flames consume as easily as they warm. What will you build with it? Ayera looked toward the horizon. A world that doesn't hide from its own heart. Abeni studied her for a long moment, then extended her staff toward the mountainside. The stone split open, revealing a cavern bathed in golden light. Inside, dozens of glowing orbs floated like stars trapped in glass, records of Muthari history, preserved through centuries of silence. Take them, the elder said quietly. They belong to you now. Ayera stepped forward, awe softening her voice. I can't take all of this alone. You won't have to, Abeni replied. The winds carry news of a soldier who survived the fire. He comes this way. Ayera froze, heart pounding. Malik? The elder smiled faintly. Even the ashes can't hold those who remember. Ayera's hands tightened around the drive as hope surged through her like new sunlight. Then, somewhere beyond the mountain, thunder rumbled. Not from the sky, but from machines drawing near. The thunder grew louder as the horizon split with light. Malik stumbled through the fog at the base of the mountain, his body aching, his uniform torn, but his eyes sharp with purpose. Every step felt like dragging the past behind him. The Union's transport swarmed above, engines roaring like angry gods. He pressed onward, guided by instinct and the faint rhythmic pulse emanating from the summit, the echo of Zawadi's truth awakening. At the top, Ayera waited beside Elder Abeni, the golden cavern pulsing behind them. The air shimmered, carrying heat that felt alive. When she saw Malik emerging from the mist, her breath caught. For a heartbeat, the mountain seemed to pause between sorrow and relief. You're alive, she whispered, disbelief mingling with joy. Malik managed a weary smile. You didn't think I'd let a little fire stop me, did you? Abeni looked between them, her expression solemn. He comes bearing both destruction and hope. The Union follows close behind. Malik nodded grimly. Then we end it here. He handed Ayera the data drive, now scorched but intact. This is everything we have. Your mother's research, the files, Nia's last transmission. The Union wants to bury it for good. Ayera's hands trembled. Then we won't let them. The mountain's wind shifted, carrying the metallic scent of incoming ships. The sky turned silver as drones descended, their searchlights cutting through the haze. Malik raised his rifle, his stance steady. Get inside the cavern, protect the archives. Abeni placed a hand on his arm. Violence begets more silence. Sometimes, Malik said quietly, silence needs to burn first. Ayera turned to the elder. You said this mountain remembers. Then let it remember her. Abeni's eyes closed as she whispered an ancient phrase. The carvings along the mountain walls ignited in waves of gold and crimson. Energy coursed through the stone, pulsing in time with Ayera's heartbeat. The ground trembled, and from deep within the cavern came the low hum of awakening power. The first volley from the Union ships struck the slopes, throwing sparks into the air. Malik fired back, each shot measured, his focus sharp despite the chaos. But the mountain itself began to respond. The light from the carvings grew fierce, spreading outward like veins of molten truth. Ayera stepped forward, her pendant glowing with the same radiance. "Mother, show them what memory can do." The air erupted. Streams of energy burst from the mountain's heart, swirling upward into the storm. The Union's drones faltered mid-air, their systems flickering. The ships above recoiled as the electromagnetic pulse rippled outward, disrupting everything artificial. Malik shielded his eyes as the light intensified. It wasn't fire, it was remembrance made visible. The symbols of two intertwined hands burned across the mountainside, vast and undeniable. From the comms of the faltering Union fleet, a voice crackled. Panicked officers shouting, "System failure, pull back, the grid is collapsing." Ayera's voice rose above the noise. "This is what they feared," she cried. "A truth too bright to hide." Malik turned toward her, the glow reflecting in his eyes. "You did it," he said. "You gave her back her voice." Ayera's gaze held his. "Not me. Us." The energy began to subside, leaving trails of light suspended in the air like falling stars. Malik dropped to one knee, exhaustion finally catching up. Ebony approached him slowly, placing her hand over his heart. "You carry the fire now," she said. "Guard it well, or it will consume what it was meant to save." Malik nodded weakly. Fire cleanses. That's what she believed. Ayera knelt beside him, her voice soft but unyielding. "Then we rebuild from the ashes." As the last Union ships retreated into the fading storm, the mountain glowed like a living memory, its flame neither weapon nor vengeance, but testament. Malik looked toward the horizon, where dawn began to break. "She was right," he murmured. "Love doesn't survive the fire, it becomes it." Ayera smiled faintly, her pendant flickering one final time. "Then let the world burn with truth." When the fires finally dimmed, the mountain stood reborn, its slopes etched with glowing veins that pulsed like a living heart. The air shimmered with warmth, not of destruction but renewal. Malik sat on the edge of the plateau, his hands resting on his knees, his breath slow, steady. The world below had changed. The Union fleet was gone, their power scattered into static and silence. Ayera stood beside him, the morning sun haloing her silver-blue skin. The pendant around her neck flickered faintly, the last trace of her mother's energy fading into stillness. She touched it gently. "She's gone," she whispered. Malik looked up at her, his voice quiet but firm. "No. She's everywhere now. In the stone, in the skies, in you." Ayera closed her eyes, the wind carrying the faint hum of the mountain's energy. For the first time, she felt her mother's presence not as grief, but as guidance. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked. "They always do," Malik said. "But next time they'll find a world that remembers." From the cavern behind them, Elder Ebony emerged, leaning on her staff. The golden light within had softened, now steady as a heartbeat. "The archives have stabilized," she said. "Zawadi's truth will endure beyond this mountain. Every world connected to the grid will see it. The lie has burned itself out." Ayera turned to her. "Will your people forgive her?" The elder's gaze drifted toward the horizon. "Forgiveness is a seed. It grows when truth has room to breathe. Today you gave it air." Malik rose slowly, his legs still stiff but holding. "What happens now?" Ebony smiled faintly. "Now the fire becomes a home." Together they walked toward the edge of the mountain, where the new dawn spilled light across the valley. Below, the first signs of life stirred again. Villagers emerging from hiding, traders returning along cracked roads, the air humming with cautious hope. Ayera watched them, her voice soft. "Do you think they'll understand what she tried to teach?" Malik's answer came without hesitation. "Maybe not today, but stories have a way of finding the right ears when the world's ready." Ayera smiled faintly. "Then we keep telling it," he nodded. "We keep remembering. For a while they stood in silence, letting the warmth of the sunrise soak into their skin. The wind carried faint melodies from the valley below, children's laughter, the rhythm of rebuilding, the sound of a planet exhaling after too long in fear. Abeni raised her staff, tracing a symbol into the air. "This mountain will no longer be a shrine to loss," she said. "It will be a sanctuary of truth. All who seek memory will find it here." Ayira's eyes shone with quiet determination. "Then this is where I'll stay, to protect it." Malik turned to her. "You could rebuild anywhere. The Union won't stop hunting you." "They can hunt," she said softly. "But they can't unlearn what they've seen." He studied her, the resolve in her face mirroring his own. "You sound like your mother." She met his gaze. "And you sound like the man she believed humans could be." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Malik extended his hand, palm open. "We finish it together." Ayira placed her hand in his. "Together." As their fingers met, the mountain's glow intensified once more, soft, golden, eternal. The warmth spread outward, washing over the ruins below, reaching every corner of New Lagos, every shadowed district where truth had been silenced. Malik felt the pulse through his skin, steady and alive. It was more than fire now, it was a heartbeat, the echo of two worlds finally listening to each other. He turned to Ayira one last time. "If this story ever reaches someone out there, someone watching, someone still afraid, what would you tell them?" Ayira's smile was calm, luminous. "I'd tell them love doesn't end in ashes. It begins there." Before you leave this story behind, subscribe and join us for more tales that remind us what it means to be human, what it means to remember. And when the next story appears on your screen, click it, because every flame starts with one spark, and the next chapter of humanity's fire waits there for you.